property, or the contracts, in one case, the vendor who makes the license plates. Or in another case, actually the facial recognition program, the vendor there who has the facial recognition program for the driver's license ended up paying a kickback to the George Ryan campaign funds. But the truth of the matter is, it involves a lot more than that, and if you actually were to go online and Google George Ryan's indictment and pull up the PDF file, you will find that of the 22 counts, I think the number is around 11. 11 of the counts were for obstruction of justice. And that obstruction specifically related to me, my partner, and the Department of Inspector General. And what was happening was the cases we were responsible for investigating of corruption within the Secretary of State's office were being obstructed all the way to the top, up to George Ryan. And I'll explain how that happened in a little bit. So it wasn't all about what the newspapers still talk about. They still talk about, even after he's been convicted, even after I've gone on TV when my book came out and discussed it, that they still always think it's all about these contracts. And there was nothing about the obstruction and how that came to be. And they always talk about whether or not it's connected to the death of the 6 children up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, if George Ryan had any culpability in that. And that's what I do try to explain in my book. Not so much that George Ryan himself is directly related, but if you look at my subtitle, it's his type of politics that was directly related to the death of those 6 children and some other people, as I go on and talk about it. Let me say this. Let me ask you this one more thing, then I'll go on about my background and lay a foundation of how the case evolved. Now that you know that there was obstruction, how do you think the George Ryan case may have impact on law enforcement as a whole? Not just myself and my partner and the investigators and the Inspector General, but law enforcement as a whole. How do you think his scandal may have had an impact on patrol officers from the local police department, sheriff's deputies, state police officers, anywhere in the state, for that matter, anywhere in the country? How do you think that scandal may have impacted? Any ideas? It's a public safety issue. The issue behind the bribers we'll talk about. The issue behind the bribers is unqualified truck drivers, and a lot is blamed on language issues, that they couldn't speak English, and that's why they were passing the test. Not always true. Some of them bribed to get their driver's license because they were experienced truck drivers. They've been truck drivers for 20 or 25 years, and they were just afraid to take the test. So they bribed somebody. Or in some cases, they might have been just shaken down for the money by the driver's license exam. And I'm going to show you where that money went, too. I'm going to show you where that money went. So what happened was, where it first became big news, is 6 children were killed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, by a truck driver who was not qualified. And I'm going to explain that in more detail, how we knew that, what was going on. What were the events that led up to that accident that made us know that that driver was part of the scandal? I started with the Secretary of State Police